welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Taylor and happy Bookmas Day 4. For this video, we're going to be reading the Hunger Games books for the first time. I'm only going to read the first 4 just because I'm waiting on the paperback copy of Sunrise on the Reaping to come out, so it'll match my copies. But hey, I think it's about to be a very fun, maybe emotional reading experience. But before I hop in the video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you love all things books. It is Thursday, November 13th. Obviously, I am pre-filming for Bookmas because I've got 12 videos to get out to y'all. And let's just say it takes time to film, edit, and upload 12 videos. So yeah, so the first one I am pre-filming is the Hunger Games books just because I plan on reading mostly holiday romances during the month of December. So I figured November and dystopian, given election season, is a great time to bring them out. So yeah, I think I'm going to start with the Hunger Games and read them in publication order. I know this is a prequel, but I'm pretty sure everyone says to read these first, or at least that's how most people go into the story. Now, I will have to preface this by saying I have seen all the movies except for The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which I think is now available on streaming, so I'll probably watch that after I finish it. But the main reason I haven't seen it is because, listen, myself growing up and still into adult, has a tendency to spoil everything for myself because I guess sometimes if something's really popular and I just don't have the money or I just don't have the time to go buy it, I will just Google what happens. So I technically have spoiled everything that happens in these books for the most part for me, and part of Sunrise on the Reaping, just because I've waited this long. So yeah, so I kind of know what happens, but I don't really know what happens. I do know we're all Team PETA. I know Team Gale has plenty of hate towards us. And I know Katniss, I know Dystopian. I'm excited to get the backstory, because I hear there's a lot of backstory. I want to know what makes us love President Snow in The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, because everyone was simping after him, and I'm like, feels like that's the wrong move. But I'm sure we'll find out. But yeah, today first is Thursday, so it is grocery shopping day. Grocery shopping, we're going to the food pantry, and then maybe I will eventually get to dropping off the stuff that I meant to take to Goodwill. But I don't know. Every time I say I'm going to do that, I always put it off. And then I don't think I'm going to take books to Mr. K's today. I usually wait till I actually have a decent stack of books that I know I'm unhauling to take there. But it is on the docket for maybe this week. But yeah, I need to get back to, Thursday is also a filming and editing day for me. So I need to get back to filming, and then we will head off to the grocery store. And then at some point tonight, I will start the Hunger Games. So the food pantry in our, city is located at the vegan restaurant, so I always go there to get vegan treats. My lemon cake, which I love the vegan lemon cake, took a little bit of a dive. But this time, we got vegan lemon cake. This is an almond, bundt cake. I can't see it. Almond bundt cake with vegan cream cheese ice cream. And I think this is apple, banana blueberry or apple blueberry. I'm not 100% sure. But that is that. But my mother's first Christmas gift came in, so hopefully she doesn't watch this. If you are watching, this is either going to be her, Christmas gift or her birthday gift, because they're both around the same time. But I figured we'd go ahead and unpack it. She packed nice. Oh, it's packed in a little box. I didn't want to mess up the box. Okay, but it is a little, it's the espresso cappuccino candle. Oh, I don't want to mess up the box. Hopefully it turned out well. I think I'm just going to leave it wrapped. Bought from them last year. I bought a set of tea lights, a tea light specific mix. Ooh, and they always give you free little tea lights. This one is supposed to smell like warm croissant. It does smell like warm, well, it smells like a baked good. I don't know if this is my vibe. I need to get something to put tea lights in because I have a bunch of these sample tea lights. I don't think there's anything else in the box, but let me see if I can't find. This is the card that came in the box, so if you're looking to shop small businesses on Etsy for Christmas, this is for you. I'm only buying for parents this year just because obviously we're trying to do a blackout for the month of December. And you know, economy, babes. But yeah, I'm gonna eat this and then I'll walk into the Hunger Games tonight. I didn't really read much last night, but I am one chapter deep into the Hunger Games. It is Friday, and I'm just going to say, so this is probably going to be a vlog filled with spoilers just because the Hunger Games has been around for a while, and I feel like it's fine to, but if you don't want any spoilers, if you hadn't seen the movies, or if you haven't read the books, I guess skip out of this vlog. But yeah, it's interesting because, like, when I was younger, I was never one to really dive into the dystopian genre that was so popular amongst all of my fellow peers. But now it's just like reading this book, given the context of the world right now, even just a chapter, it's just like, I know in theory what's going to happen because I know the story from the movies, but it's like the unease of like, oh, I think the dramatic irony of like me knowing what happened somehow makes this worse. Like, I know what's about to come, and it's just like, oh, you feel it. You feel it. There have been a couple lines that have been put in this one. I think, yeah, this one that really got me was, Gail and I agree that if we have to choose between dying of hunger and a bullet in the head, the bullet would be much quicker. Okay, well, that one, interesting. But yeah, so far I think we've been introduced to most of the main characters. I haven't seen PETA crop up yet. But yeah, it's interesting to me because in high school, we read an essay by a journalist talking about how Katniss Everdeen is the standard, like, book boyfriend, and how kind of she and PETA in terms of like relationships flip the traditional like feminine and masculine roles in a story and stuff like that, and how it was interesting. I don't know, because obviously Katniss kind of represents a type of woman that I feel like goes very much against a very conservative, very controlling toxic masculine idea. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much I'm going to say. This book I think is going to fly by like once I get into it. Like, the text is quite large if you can't tell. So yeah, but they just pulled Primrose's name out. So I'm about to see, we've already got a May the Odds Be Ever in Your Favor, and I'm waiting for High Volunteers tribute. So yeah, I mean, the amount of things that this story has added to the common like lexicon nowadays. Whew, okay. So I'm once again reminded that District 12 takes place in Appalachia, which is where I live and where I'm from. And it's just like, it grinds my gears because like, even in the world of the Hunger Games, they're talking about like how people from this district or this area have always been a little backwards. And I'm just like, well, nothing has quite changed. She's calling it like she sees it, Suzanne Collins. I see you, but I do fear tears and anger are an abundance. I think I just needed a good angry cry. I feel like to end out this year before I go into the happy holiday times, I need a good angry cry, and I feel like this series is going to give it to me. I'm at page 226 in the book. I do plan on finishing this book tonight. I think I have like 140 or 50 somewhere in that range pages, but this book is flying by. I'm at the point where Katniss has blown up all of like the career tributes, like rations and stuff like that. I was like, good for you, girl. She just said here, let the 74th Hunger Games begin, Cato. I think let them begin for real, because she's evening the odds. She and Rue have finally teamed up. However, if I remember correctly, I'm about to witness Rue's death. No. I in fact do not. See, this is the thing. Having seen the Hunger Games movie and knowing everything that's going to happen has not stopped me from being so thrilled and so enthralled to see everything go down. Because I'm the kind of person, like, even if something's spoiled for me, like, if it's a good enough, I'm like, okay, well, I want to see how the plot twist was written. I want to see how it actually plays out in the book. So I'm like, it's not stopping me. I will say I did have one laugh out loud moment where PETA was talking about how his mother said that at least maybe District 12 will have like a winner for the first time. And he was telling her that she wasn't talking about him. She was talking about Katniss. And I was like, not PETA's mother. Not only proving how she's the worst, but also like saying, you gonna die, son. You gonna die. But hey, at least that girl you've been pining after, she may actually bring honor to our nation. Sorry, Mulan had to make its way in there. But yeah, I am about to go pick up dinner. So I will get dinner and then I will finish this book tonight. I am not emotionally ready to see Rue die. And reading these has made me go like, okay, I need to watch the movie again. Like I finished the first Hunger Games book and 5 stars. I did cry. I did tear up. Rue's death? No. 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 I will say getting some of Katniss's inner monologue that you can't really portray on screen makes things hurt twice as much. And then the ending, the fucking ending, where PETA realizes that Katniss may not reciprocate the feelings that she's been playing up as having this entire time. The way PETA just went full, like, blank face. Oh my God. That hurt. That hurt emotionally. That was a shot through the heart. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else to say other than I would like to immediately start catching fire, but it's almost 11 o'clock at night here and I still need to shower. And I feel as if I need to, I don't know if I want to rewatch the movies as I finish each book or if I want to wait till after I finished each book and then rewatch the movies. I'm not sure what the move is. But yeah. Listen, this just shows to show that sometimes I heard someone say that sometimes the greatest reading experience can be reading the book after having seen the movie, because you haven't tainted your enjoyment of the movie because you got to get your first impressions of the story, but then with the book you add context and you get to like have an even better, more enjoyable experience, because 9 times out of 10 the book is better than the movie. It is Sunday afternoon. I did watch the movie last night and a little bit into this morning because I did stay up quite late to do such a thing. But it is interesting to me because in the book you primarily only get Katniss's point of view. So the inner dialogue and some of the things that they were able to work into the book that you couldn't see in the movie just for time's sake about the Hunger Games just makes everything feel like the connection between you and the characters and the pain you feel at everyone's loss and like the hatred you feel on part of the Capitol is so prominent. But I also see that in the movie they're able to show the outside things, because in the book we can't see how the world is reacting to Katniss's action, but in the movie you get to see the outside, how Haymitch is getting sponsors, how President Snow and Cinna are reacting to the changes she's making and the moves she's making and how they're trying to make it so that she's not a martyr, and then kind of seeing how Gale is. Plus, I will say, I think I can, when I watched the movies for the first time, the whole love triangle between her, Gale, and PETA didn't quite see, because I feel like the inner dialogue about Katniss's conflicting emotions in the book really helped me actually sell, like, okay, maybe she does have a thing for Gale, or at least there was a sort of obligation to be with Gale, but now she's confronted with PETA, who's completely different to what she's known her whole life, and now she's having to deal with emotions that just aren't fight or flight, because that's all she's ever been able to process her whole life and everything. I don't know. But I just read the first chapter of Catching Fire, so we are entering the Victor Tour, and President Snow has made his appearance. So yeah, I'm interested to see how President Snow weaves his way into this story, because obviously I've seen the book to movie adaptation for the Hunger Games original. I'm curious to see how Catching Fire, the little things in here that like are changed for the movie. Because, like, yeah. And I will say, yes, I did also cry when Rue died in the movie. Yeah. I made it to part 2 of the Quell, so we are about to get the announcement of the Quarter Quell. I don't know if I'm going to be ready for that. The whole first part was all about the victory tour, and then we got to Gale's lashing, and then Katniss maybe realizing that she might also have feelings for Gale, but also thinking it's like, oh shit, I can't run. I might actually have to do something here, and that my words and things I've done might actually have an impact on what's going on around me. And then Katniss, PETA, my baby girl, PETA babes, I'm so sorry. This man is so down bad, so pathetically down bad, that he would follow her into a war zone just for a mere smile. I just know that. Listen, when we got to District 11 and her giving her speech about Rue and Thresh and everything that went down, I did tear up. I was like, I'm not prepared. Baby Rue. Oh God. I'm so not prepared for what happens in Mockingjay with Prim. I'm gonna be down bad crying at the gym. But yeah, I think I need to take a moment to stop, maybe change out of last night's pajamas, and actually eat dinner. So I am on page 218. We are going through the victors having been picked for the Quarter Quell this time around. I will say, I don't know that I have much to say. It feels like some of the moments that were big in the movie were kind of more glanced over in this one. Like the reaping where, PETA volunteered himself to take Haymitch's place. And then this one, I was wondering if the scene with Johanna, undressing would be in there, and it was. But I didn't think it really... apparently Peeta, I don't know if this is in the movie, I can't remember. Apparently I don't remember as much about the movies as I did. Peeta's like, you know, they're messing with you because you're so pure, and Katniss is like so taken aback. She's like, I'm not pure, I have killed people, like I've been hunting, like I am this like hardened like mountain girl. And I'm just like, you know what, fair enough. Fair enough. I just thought that was funny. We're about to get into the games eventually, but knowing some of the things I know from Mockingjay, I'm clocking some of Haymitch's behavior and some of the other people's behavior. Also, I see that we get a little bit of an overview of what happened in Haymitch's games in this book, which is kind of what I wanted, but I am curious to see how that all plays out, because seeing Maisley like has died after Haymitch, I'm seeing how things can grow from point A to point B. So yeah, I assume by the time you see me next, I will have finished this book. I finished Catching Fire, and let me just say, I knew the betrayal from Haymitch and everyone was coming, but to hear everything from Katniss's point of view and how she just essentially did not want to go on and live, because she's like, you were, because it kind of glosses over everything at the end of like the rebellion and stuff like that, and the rebellious group that was together. But I mean, so obviously we got the scene with Gale. Oh my god, poor Peeta. I know what's coming for Peeta, and Peeta my baby girl, but also finna go there. We knew he was coming, and I liked him even having read more of his story in here. I'm like, I like you even more, babes. I like you even more. Another 5 star. Another 5 stars. I do currently have a headache, so I do plan on watching the movie tonight or like tomorrow morning. But I think my body and my brain need to decompress a little. But I'll come back with thoughts on this to movie, and then we'll move into Mockingjay. It's Wednesday night. I have officially watched Catching Fire, the movie. Now, I will say, while I do think, like, for, like, a one-to-one adaptation, I mean, there were things changed, but I think they do well on that part. I think the thing that holds me back is just, like, some of the acting on part of, like, the main characters, like Jennifer Lawrence's and Liam Hemsworth acting, just takes me out of the film, and that's why. Like, overall, I enjoy the film, but I'm like, And maybe that's why I just, like, didn't see the romance at all, particularly with Katniss and Gale. Not that I really, like, I can see why there is a hint at a romance and love triangle in the books, but in the movies, the romance in itself, not there. But Catching Fire is interesting to me because it literally is just, like, showing the duality of, like, both sides were going to use her no matter what. Like, she had no say or control over her own life even when she thought she did. Like, even her closest allies were willing to, like, do something that's not so great to, like, achieve the goals they want, including, like, taking her out. And now we're in the part of Mockingjay, and they're in District 13. And listen, District 13 is shady. District 13 is shady. I'm just saying, it's really just, like, showing how, like, even when, like, when you cut off one head of the serpent, another one grows back, or one head of the Hydra or whatever, basically, like, there will always be someone vying for power, and, you know, obviously these people who are vying for this power aren't always going to be have the best of intentions, and it's just, like, sometimes it's, like, the people in power need to realize that the power needs to be with the people, or more so, the people need to realize that they need to take back their power. They don't need to just rely on, like, one, like, stoic image like the Mockingjay and so on and so forth. But yeah, baby Peeta, I miss you so much. But I'm only on chapter 3, and I don't know if I'll get any further in this because it is hair washing night, and tomorrow is a Wicked double feature day. So, yeah, I'm going to be busy the next 2 days. It is Saturday morning. I just got to page 137, or part 2. Yeah, part 2 of Mockingjay. I did not read anything on Thursday, and I kind of read, like, maybe a chapter or so yesterday. Listen, my day, Thursday and Friday were jam-packed, but I do want to finish this day. At the end of this one, we're following, like, the Capitol, like, airing Peeta alongside, like, District 13's attack full of all of their propos, or, like, advertisements of Katniss, and we're ending with Peeta and lots of blood, and I'm just sorry, Peeta's my baby girl, and then Katniss is just doing all this damage. Ugh. I will say one thing. Peeta, like, of, like, the core 3, Katniss, Peeta, and Gale, Peeta is my favorite character. But, like, outside of that, Haymitch and Finnick, I love those two for different reasons. Finnick just because I hurt for Finnick. Like, I hurt for that man, like, his girlie who was off who knows where, probably either dead or being tortured or whatever. And he's out here doing his best to hold it up for everyone, but he's also basically being used as like the same way Katniss is. And I'm like, Finnick and Katniss for life, besties for life. And then Haymitch, I know he's only doing what he thinks is best, but even he, like, the character of Haymitch is so well developed. It's just there's a lot to him to unpack and sink your teeth into. Plus, I will say I love that I'm reading this after having the Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, the movie, come out, because when Katniss was singing The Hanging Tree, you all know what I did? I pulled up my Spotify and listened to Lucy Graybeard singing The Hanging Tree. It was fabulous. However, my brother and I are supposedly going out for lunch today. That is what he wanted. I don't know when that is happening, theoretically within the next hour, so I'm probably going to put this down for a bit of a second. I am halfway through Mockingjay. I'm on page 192, so a little bit over halfway, because I think, 390 pages? I'm not sure where that is. But yeah, I've got to the point where I'm pretty sure Mockingjay Part 1, the movie, ends. At least when I double check, that's where it ends, so I'm gonna go ahead and watch Mockingjay Part 1. But I will say, I don't know if they left Finnick's story out of Mockingjay Part 1, the movie, or if I just don't remember it, but I feel like I would have, because Finnick's story? That hurt. Like, the man, he's like just like a sex slave from like the age of like 16 on. I'm like, oh my god, that's just And then hearing what happened to Haymitch's family, it does make, like, we get Haymitch's and Finnick's story in here, and like their story interests me so much. Maybe Finnick's not so much, because you kind of surmise what Finnick's story was. But yeah, maybe a little novella on Finnick, but this, just hearing everything about Haymitch makes me want to read his games in Sunrise on the Reaping, because, like, you know, like, the basic outline, but, like, to be inside his head when everything is going down just sounds like an awful time. So I just finished watching Mockingjay Part 1, and this one has had the most changes from book to movie. And well, I can say that I like some of them, because I feel like we get a little more insight into President Coin and some of the things that are going on in the districts that we don't necessarily get to see in the books. I will say some of these things, I'm just like, I wish we had been given a little bit more of what was given in the book, particularly with the interactions between Katniss and Finnick, because I think those really showed a lot of character development, and those were really cut. And some of the more hostile interferences between Katniss and Gale, because I think it would really build up, like, what eventually happens with Gale going on. And plus with Peeta and everything, like, they show what happened to him at the end of the movie, but, like, what we get in this book so far, at least in that intersection right there, is much more grabbing you. So far, in terms of, like, well, I think this is a really well done movie, and I think it does everything that Suzanne Collins had wanted to do in delivering the message. I still think some of the character and, like, characterization of Katniss and some of the other characters got lost in the sauce of, like, movie magic. I finished Mockingjay like 5 or 10 minutes ago. I do think the book may have finished me, because the entire time I was hoping, I knew how it was supposed to end, but I still wanted better for our two characters, even though I don't think any of the characters in this series or universe ever really gets a happy ending, and I assume Haymitch is dead by the time we've reached the end of the story. I don't know. Nothing really gets mentioned about him, other than he goes back into his drunken stupor after that. So yeah. And I still have the second Mockingjay movie to watch, so I have to relive Finnick and Prim's death all over again, as well as watching Gale realize that he took a part in ending Prim's life. And all for him to just say, and the only thing I had was protecting your family. Like, apparently the only thing that matters in that time is that he no longer has a place in Katniss's life romantically. And once again, #1 hater of Gale, fuck him, go to the grave, sir. And yet somehow he's out here doing fine. Doing fine and dandy. So, and then, oh, Finnick and Annie having a kid. Now that. Oh, I really should not have listened to Alex Warren's Eternity on repeat after the end of this book. But I just frankly needed a good cry, and I still think I need a good cry. But also, I think I warrant a cookie. However, now I know how the story ends. I guess tomorrow we will figure out how the story begins with the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I think it's a good thing that I'm not reading The Sunrise on the Reaping in this video, because I, in fact, don't think I could survive. I know what Snow did to Katniss, but I know he started everything with Lucy, and then I know he ramped it up with Haymitch, and I just know Haymitch got a shit deal. It is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I really haven't been doing too much reading the past few days. However, I am now on page 139 or chapter 10 of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I did watch Mockingjay Part 2. I bawled my eyes out. I will say Mockingjay Part 2, I feel like it left some things out and changed some things from the book, particularly on how Katniss got to where she is, and some of Johanna's storyline about her reaction to some of like the treatment the Capitol put her through and all that, and then how everything went down with Katniss in the end, kind of brushing over some of Katniss and Peeta's story. And it left out a line that made me thoroughly disgusted at Gale in the book, that I guess they just want to make Gale seem a little nicer, a little better option in the movie, and I'm like, ugh, disgusting, man. Like, disgusting, man. But now we're on the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So my brother actually asked me, like, well, what is the message of, like, the Hunger Games? Because I've heard people say that Suzanne Collins only writes when she has something to say. So to me, like, what she was trying to say in the Hunger Games is that power corrupts all, and that people are willing to overlook anything, especially if people are willing to overlook anything to protect their way of life or their peace of mind, especially regarding the Capitol citizens, because like they will take anything to maintain their status where they are, and like people in the districts will take anything just to be able to live and get by, and so on and so forth. And then of course hope is a powerful tool and stuff like that. In terms of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snake, Coriolanus Snow, like I can see why people liked him. Like I can see it, because this is not the Snow we know now. Like, this book is going to show how war and how power corrupts. Like, this is the point of how war changes everybody. Because at the stage we are, the Hunger Games are in dire straits. Like, the tributes are treated so poorly. Like, they're literally locked in an old zoo. Like, they aren't being fed. They were basically carried on a cargo train. They're, like, beaten and strong. And, like, there's just nothing. Like, there's nothing to give them. But this whole book, really, to me, the whole point of this book is showing the power of propaganda. Because as throughout this book, you're seeing them add the mentors, add the live interviews, adding, like, creating sympathy in order to help, like, in order to help drum up support for the games, to get food to the tributes. They're adding in the aspect of gambling. And Snow, because he's not really as strong, he has no physical power, really. He has no real financial power. His greatest power that he holds is his ability to charm and weave words in such a way that it makes people want to be with him. And so this is definitely going to show the power of propaganda and the power of blind faith, and in itself, hope, and so on and so forth. So it's interesting to me seeing how Snow's version of the games that we get later on, by the time we reach the time of the Hunger Games, gets sort of developed in this round. But there's so much left to go, especially because you can kind of see the start of a romance between Snow and Lucy here, and I'm just interested to see how this tragic romance plays out. So yeah, it's also interesting to see the contrast between Sejanus and Snow, because Snow, all he's ever known is wealth and life in the capital, even though now he's struggling along. Whereas Sejanus, coming from District 2, all he's ever known is like district life, and now he's being thrust in this capital life. And Sejanus is like, I know what it's like to be, I can't seem to like forget this, like this chip off my shoulder. And like he's seeing everything for what it is, like the government should be protecting us. Whereas Snow is seeing of like, I want to protect my way of life. Of like, it's kind of messed up, but it's going to be me first. So it's like you have the self-serving that is Snow, And then to Sejanus, well, he might be self-serving and trying to protect his morality. He's more of like a people, like serving the people. And that is to see, in this case, we know Snow wins out, but it's interesting to see the struggles that are still going on even 10 years after the fall of the war. But yeah, I've talked a lot. Here. Yeah, tomorrow I'm going to be cooking a lot because it's the day before Thanksgiving. So yeah, I'm probably going to put this down for the night and probably go to bed soon. So I will see y'all when I have more to say, but it is a 500 something page book, so there's still lots of story to get through. It is Monday, December 1st, and I have officially finished The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and I have watched the movie, which brings us to conclusion of this Hunger Games reading vlog. So for this book, I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. There are definitely some moments that made me feel so much, particularly when it came to Sejanus's hanging and everything that went with that, and him like screaming for his mother. I will say, I think this book was just pacing-wise a lot to get through. And while I think it definitely added a lot to Coriolanus Snow, President Snow's character, I can't say that it made me sympathize with him, because a lot of the rhetoric that was going on in his brain is very much so indicative of very, very much so people that I do not like. Today, so it was really hard to sympathize with this man. I will say the movie itself, while it stuck relatively true to what goes on in the story, it did alter some things that I feel like was to the detriment of the character development, particularly Sejanus' character, because I feel like the movie left out a lot of that bonding that went on between the two, and in fact changed some of the scenarios where Snow was going on and being more aggressive and being a little bit, I don't know if meaner is a word, but not as sly and as like compassionate looking as he is in the books. And I feel like some of the storyline with Lucy Gray got altered a bit because he and Lucy Gray, like, they kissed a whole heck of a lot in the book and stuff like that, whereas in the movie there was a lot more hesitancy in it and everything. But I will say what the movie did so well is having it close out with President Snow, the adult version, it's the things you love the most that hurt us, because I think that was a great way to establish like President Snow's character, because realistically, like with the ending of this where you don't really know what happens to Lucy Gray and she, stays the mystery that is her. In my mind, she survived and she ran off. I don't know if she survived the woods, but I like to think that she was able to survive Snow. Like, Haymitch and Katniss got ruined by Snow and a lot, but I feel like Lucy was able to get out before she could lose absolutely everything, whereas Haymitch, I feel like, lost pretty much everything, and Katniss got close to losing everything. So I don't know if that's the case, but in my mind, Lucy's out there. But like with the ending of this movie, you don't really know what it is that he loves the most. Is it his love of the Capitol, and then how his willingness to sacrifice everything for it, including love and freedom? Is it his love for Lucy Gray, who eventually betrayed him in his eyes? Even though, we don't know, because in the book we found out that the snake that bit him actually wasn't poisonous, and that maybe she just, feared for her. It feels like the movie showed her being much more fearful than the book itself showed, so we don't know. Or could it be his love of power? Because I feel like the Hunger Games in itself shows very much so that power corrupts wholly, and power corrupts all. And he, in this book, really, his inner monologue is talking about how he is the greatest and how he is the best, how he's constantly seeking out power. So, yeah. I don't know. I don't think this will be my favorite Hunger Games book out of them. I'm so curious to see what I think of Sunrise on the Reaping when I get that in paperback next year. I looked on Kindle. It's gonna cost me about the same price it would to get a paperback next year, so I'm not gonna buy it now. But yeah, this one's probably going to be my least favorite. And right now I think the original Hunger Games book is my favorite. But yeah, that was me reading the original Hunger Games series for the first time. I had quite a fun time. Well, I had a quite emotional time reading this. And I'm so glad that I'm about to dive into the holiday reading vlogs, because personally, I need a break from emotional devastation. I don't know about you, but let me know if you're a Hunger Games fan, if you've only seen the movies, if you've only read the books, if you haven't read either, if you've seen both. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, and I will see y'all in the next one.